And welcome, FlipoClock fans. We just got back in from vacation. I mean, literally, we're still unpacking. And I found this box here when I got home. This was sent in from Jenny from New Jersey. Thanks for sending it in, Jenny. And we're going to take a look at this for our friend Jenny. We're going to open up this box using the Civivi Mini Praxis. This is an interesting knife because it's got a flipper but no thumb stud. So you could open it this way, but it's actually designed just to be flipped open like so. This is really a bargain knife. They've started selling these at Walmart, so it's a highly recommended knife by me. But I don't collect knives. And speaking of collections, while I open this, we were down there, and the last thing we did was we stopped off at a salt and pepper shaker museum. Now, I have never seen anything like this in my life. And there's stories about who started it, where it came from. So I believe the people who initially started it have passed on. But there's some 20,000 salt and pepper shakers in there. And I started making comments. It was my wife who wanted to stop in there about the crazy things people collected. And she reminded me of people who actually collect clocks, specifically flip clocks. And then I just shut up. So let's see what we got here. Okay. Now, Jenny, don't get mad at me, but I'm going to use this as an example. For short term, this is not a big deal, but don't do this. When you store clocks, do not wrap the cord around those clocks. Recently, I've seen online several examples of clocks that clearly have had the cords wrapped around them. And what that'll do for the long term is it's going to eat into the plastic. So the cord has stuff called plasticizers to make it limber like this. And over years, it will eat into the clock. So that's not happened, and I don't mean to get on to you too bad there, Jenny. But just using it as an example. And of course, Jenny knew it was going to be short term. So this looks a little bit like the Copal 222, as you see. Yeah, I'd say so. The Artin Model 3500 was well represented in newspaper advertisements from 1977 to 1982. Initially described as digital clock by Artin, they subsequently labeled it the Artin Leaf digital clock. So let's get in here and find out why it's not working. I'm assuming it's not working. That's why Jenny sent it in, but let's plug it in. All right, let's see. Okay, well, you see it's working now. Well, that's it. Well, thanks for taking the time. No, I'm just kidding. Oh. All right, so we got a problem there. So we're going to get into this clock and see what's going on. Looks like we're going to have to break into this label. So you know it's not, I think they do that on purpose. You know it's not been gotten into because that screw has not been taken off. So I think that's why they do that. I think, and again, I apologize, my memory is not that great. I believe you have to take that off to get to it. Okay, you see how it stopped? So when that happens, there's a gear missing on the inside of the gearbox. I wish I can remember. I can break. Oh, here we go. I was going to say I was going to have to break down and watch one of my own videos to remember how I got these apart. So you see what's going on here. So we've got to get into there. And there's no way to do that unless I break the seal to get in here. So we have to do that to get into that screw. So we're going to get into there. Look how pretty that is. Got a nice wire. So someone's got some taste. Got orange wire. Orange neon. We've got to get into this clock and fix it. And usually the gear has fallen off of these Artin It's usually specifies AR1. Yeah, it's an AR01 motor. So the gear's falling off on the inside. All right, so I'm going to get in here and get into the motor. What we're going to do to get into this gearbox is we're going to go at it from this side, and I'm going to burr down these rivets just enough so I can snap off this case back here. So I'm going to use a Dremel, and I'm just going to take my time and burr those down. I'm probably not going to do this on camera because I can't be as careful as I need to be to do this when I'm trying to show you. But basically I'm just... So where are we at this point? We do have another video that shows a little better how I popped this off. Check the description for the link. But basically I took this blade and pried open the case. This is my knife with a replaceable blade that I don't mind if it gets bent. I wouldn't use one of my better knives to go in here and start prying. The thin blade allows me to get up under here and pop this off fairly easily. Unfortunately, when I did that, these gears went everywhere. But thankfully, I had that other video which I reviewed and quickly learned how to reassemble the gears. So that slowed me down, but they're back in place and that's okay. What do we have here? Here's the gear that was off, and it's the gear that holds the rotating wheel in place. Now here's the problem. Once it's in place here, you can see that it's cracked. I get a lot of questions about where can someone get a replacement gear for this or other similar situations. And I'm sorry I can't tell you where to find gears. Some people will tell me just to 3D print it. Easily said, but I don't know the material they use in 3D printing, and it would have to have the properties that would be needed. You see, this gear has to be press fit on the rod there. It has to have enough give for that, and it needs to hold its shape once in place on the rod. The teeth need to hold their position without breaking or deforming. I've tried to glue these gears before, but typically a gap remains, messing up the continuity of the gear teeth. In that circumstance, it's going to make a racket when it runs. You might be surprised that a small gap would make that much noise, but it does. So what's my solution? I've actually done this before. What I do is get a parts motor that I don't have plans for. I have found in the past that many Copel motors have a metal gear that is a perfect match for this cracked gear. To get this off, I could press the arbor out, or I can take 2 flathead screwdrivers and pry the gear off. I have to be careful because that gear wants to fly. So that's the plan. Now while this whirligig is off, you have a rare opportunity to get in here and get a lot of oil down in there. You want to get a lot of oil in this hole. This will relubricate the oil bearing that's in there so that this will run smoothly. To get a lot of oil down in there, you go at it from both sides. So that's my plan. Get this oiled up, press the replacement gear on here, and get the motor and clock reassembled. While we're in this state, I want to review how to get this face off the clock. Every clock comes with different ways to get the faces off. It's kind of fraught with danger here because you only get one chance. I mean, unless you have a bunch of these clocks in storage somewhere. The best way I have found to get this off requires a flathead screwdriver. You get it right up under here on the plastic of the case. I will push the top of the face down while I'm pulling up with a screwdriver. That released it. So again, I'm pushing down here and pulling up on the other side. Now as soon as I do that, it releases from the bottom. Removing this will allow me to be able to clean the clock better. This has got a flat black finish. I kind of like that. To get the clear plastic face back in place, it's just the reverse. It just snaps back in place. It's really easy to get back together. Alright then, we've got it back together. Everything seems to be running fine and keeping time. I've checked it against the clock in the back there, and it's been running in sequence with that clock there for several minutes. So now we have a good situation going on. We just have to get the clock back together. Well, there it is, the Artin Model 3500, back in business. Well, thanks for taking the time.